100 strong. Because over here, we like to keep things 100 strong. What's that word, family? Hey, man, check this out.
Brush, I apply the brush. Brush, I apply the brush. Brush, I apply the brush. Yeah, brush, I apply the brush.
Raylon East is behind bars tonight, charged with the fatal shootings of two ex-co-workers at Navy Pier earlier this week. The 36-year-old South Shore resident has been charged with first-degree murder and unlawful use of a weapon by a felon in connection with the November 5th slayings. East turned himself in a few days later and was arrested after authorities released images of him on public transportation. Investigators describe East as a disgruntled employee who worked for the Levy Restaurants, a hospitality and catering company, before he was fired on October 29th. The company says since being hired just over a year ago, East had been reprimanded for multiple verbal and physical aggressions toward his coworkers. In court, prosecutors say after being let go weeks earlier, East left his Southside home that morning, dressed in his cook's uniform, and used public transportation to go to Navy Pier. Detectives say that's how he was able to gain entry into the business. Once inside, he went into a private office area near the loading dock. Prosecutors say he confronted his former co-workers, 51-year-old Lamont Johnson and 47-year-old Peter Jennings, and shot both of them in the head. The victims, who later died at the hospital of their wounds, were eventually discovered by other employees. Meanwhile, authorities say East threw the weapon he allegedly used in the murders into the lake before taking public transportation to flee. Chicago Police Department divers recovered the weapon. Chicago police launched an exhaustive search. Investigators say the Kenwood High School graduate dressed in several layers of clothing to commit the murders. Authorities released security and surveillance images of a person they say was Raylon East, discarding different items of clothing at various times to avoid detection. Police say Raylon East is a convicted felon who was sentenced to 8 years in prison for aggravated robbery.
I'm glad I don't work with a lot of niggas, man. You know, I try to work around white folks. You know, the most they gonna do is hate on me and try to get me fired. They ain't gonna try to murder me over no $15 an hour job at that, man. This nigga was a restaurant cook, came up with an elaborate plan to kill two of his co-workers at Navy Pier, man. That shit is silly. This dude right here, man, he had it all mapped out. He had on several layers of clothing. He was taking transportation, the bus system. Why would you think you can get away with something like this, man? Now your family got to suffer forever, as well as the people that you killed. This story is crazy, man. And it looked like I know one of those guys, for real. One of those guys looked very familiar. Working at Navy Pier, and you decide to come back and kill motherfuckers because you've been reprimanded time and time again about your violent behavior towards your coworkers. You should have had a job a long time ago, bro, to keep it real. And now you ain't gotta worry about paying no more bills. You ain't gotta worry about paying no more rent. You ain't gotta worry about child support, the kids, none of that. It's just weird. And, you know, the neighbors for this guy, they say he was a quiet guy, man. He was a cool fellow. You never heard nothing about him. Them always be the ones, bro. Them always be the ones. Niggas that's quiet and mind they business, man. Leave them niggas alone, bro. Leave them alone. But he didn't have to kill these innocent people, bro. You were too much for the job. You know how this shit goes. You're a grown man. Y'all tell me how y'all feel about this in the comment section. I'll be back later. Peace.
Brush, I apply the brush. I apply the brush. I apply the brush. Yeah, brush. I apply the brush.